So today's objectives, first we'll give a brief overview of YSA and what the Sodexo Foundation Youth Grant Program looks like and what it's all about. We'll go over the grant application expectations and some criteria for you to answer before you hit submit. We'll discuss the application and the rubric as guides to help you prepare and implement a high-quality project. And then I'll also be answering any questions that you might have. And just a side note on the GoToWebinar panel that should be located on your screen. There is a questions box, so if at any point you do have a question, feel free to type it in there, and I will happily answer it at the end of the webinar. Okay, so tell you a little bit about YSA. So our mission is that YSA helps young people find their voice, take action, and make an impact on vital community issues. We work through 4 key strategies. We work through mobilization campaigns. Global Youth Service Day, which you'll learn about in just a few minutes, is our biggest campaign. We work through a variety of grant programs, both for youth and organizations, as well as teachers. We provide resources and training, and we also have different award programs. So to talk a little bit about this specific grant program, this program is open to youth ages 5 through 25 that are located in the United States. So if you are someone who is located internationally that's joining us today, thank you for joining us, but unfortunately it is not open to you. It's only open to youth in the United States. The projects that you'll be applying for, they will take place on Global Youth Service Day and hopefully beyond that as well. And Global Youth Service Day this year is April 17th through the 19th. So that weekend in April, we expect you to do your project, conduct your project, have other youth involved in the project during that weekend. The grant is a $400 grant, and it's for youth-led service projects. So the person applying for this grant should be a youth up to the age of 25, and they should be the service leader for this specific project. We have 100 grants available, and each project should address childhood hunger. So that can be in a variety of different ways, but each project does have to address the issue of childhood hunger in your community. We hope that in your application you'll point out how you'll bring together youth, people, families, Sodexo employees, and other community members. We want you to engage as many people in your community as possible, and hopefully you'll point that out in your application. And just to reiterate, applications are due by 5 p.m. on January 15th. So you've got a little bit of time to sort of plan it out if you haven't quite figured it out yet, but applications are due at 5 p.m. on the 15th of January. I'm actually going to walk you through the application right now, just so you know what to look for, and if you have any questions about it, I will be here to walk you through it. So you can access the application by going to ysa.org, and under the Tools section will be a YSA grant selection. So if you click on that, it'll bring you to our open grants where you can click on Sodexo Foundation Youth Grant. So this will be the page that comes up. It'll tell you a little bit about the program, like I just mentioned to you. It'll tell you what we're looking for, which I also mentioned, and there'll be a big blue Apply Now button, which you'll want to click on. And when you do, a new page will pop up asking you to either log in or sign up. So if you've already done this process, you'll just need to log in. Otherwise, you'll just need to sign up so that we can get your application started. In my case, I already have a login, so I'm just going to do that really quickly. And this will bring you directly to our application. If for any reason it doesn't bring you to that, there will be a Return to Menu button at the top of the page. And when you click on that, it'll bring you back to the main application, where you can just hit Create or Edit Application. From here, I'm going to take you through the application. So first, the first section is all about the project leader. So we want to know who this person is, their name, their age, and ways to get in contact with them should we have any questions. When you hit Next, it will bring you to the second part, which is about the project leader's parent or guardian. So if you are under the age of 18 and you are applying for this grant program, we are going to need some information about a parent or guardian just because you're under the age of 18. If you are over the age of 18, feel free to just put NA in all of these sections. Next, we're going to ask you about the project mentor. So we're asking that you find an adult project mentor who will guide you and help support you during the completion of your project. It can be really anyone who's interested in helping you with your project. It could be a teacher, a coach, another youth leader. It could be your parents, whoever sort of that adult mentor is that's working with you on the project. We need to have their information as well. So make sure you select that person before you start filling this out. Next, we will ask you about the sponsoring organization or school that will accept the grant funds for you. So we don't send any grants, any funds directly to an individual. We always send it to a sponsoring organization. So this could be your school, it could be a nonprofit that you're working with. And if you don't have one of those already for your project, be sure to sort of keep your eyes open, talk to people in your community, and figure out what that organization or school will be that will accept the funds on your behalf. Next, very simple question. We just want to know how you found out about this opportunity. Was it through our website? Was it through our newsletters? Was it from someone who worked at your school? Have you done this program before? And then there's also a section here. Once you log in and start your application, you will automatically be eligible and will receive all email updates from YSA and YSA grants opportunities. So if for any reason you don't want to receive those emails, make sure you click this box here. And now we get to the real big part of the application. So we want to know all about your project. And make sure as you're going through this, you're sort of reading between the lines, between the questions. There are a lot of project ideas and a lot of things that will help you that are not necessarily in bold print. So make sure you read through that. So we'll ask you your project title. We'll ask you how you're planning to address the issue of childhood hunger, and you can select from any of these different choices. We will ask you for a project summary. This is probably the most important question in the application. We'll need to understand exactly what you're doing, who's being involved. So we want the who, what, when, where, why, and how. We want all of that information in this section. It's definitely the most important question on the application. We also are looking for projects that have sort of a long-term impact, that are going to be around for a while, and you know, post-GYSD you'll be continuing this, whether it's with you or other youth. So we want to know about the sustainability of the project. How will this project continue once your GYSD project is complete? Next, we'll ask you to give us some facts, some figures, any information that you know about childhood hunger in your community to reiterate why this project is important in your community. And then we'll ask you a little bit of an inspiration question. Why is this issue important to you? Do you have a personal connection to it? What got you interested in it? Just tell us a little bit about that. We're just curious sort of how you came about to create this project. Next, we'll ask you the impact of your project. So how will you measure that, or how will you make improvements of your project over time? We'll ask you to hopefully engage some Sodexo employees in your project. And if so, how can you do that? Will you invite them to attend your project? Will you ask them to promote it? What are the ways that you'll be asking Sodexo employees to help you out? How many people do you think that you can help recruit to help with your project? We're asking that you try and find at least 50. I know that's a large number, but you know, if you can find 50 other young people who are willing to work with you, then it's bound to be a successful project. So just tell us how many people you think you'll need, our total number of volunteers. We'll ask you what you'll be doing for Global Youth Service Day. So like I said, that's April 17th through the 19th of 2015. You do have some time to plan, but just give us an idea of what you're thinking to do on that day, whether it's a food drive or it's a culmination event or you know, a celebration, things like that. What will you specifically be doing on Global Youth Service Day? And then the last big question is, how will you let others know about the results of your project? So will you engage public officials? Do you have a Facebook page? You know, how will you let others know that you've done a successful project? So when you hit next, we'll then ask you to upload a budget. So here, before you even start to go through your budget, just make sure you read through this top section here. So it tells you all the things that we are able to fund, and it tells you all the things that we are unable to fund. So make sure you're reading through that so you know not to put, a DJ on your budget if that's something that we definitely cannot fund. So make sure that the $400 that you're requesting is going to good use and things that we actually are able to fund. Then we'll ask you to upload your budget here. There is a Excel document in the application where you can just download and then edit to make sure that it's your specific budget. There's an example on there as well. So should you have any questions, the example is there and should be pretty straightforward. Finally, the last part of the application is the review section. So once you've completed all of this, you will go through and just make sure all of the information is correct, especially the email address, telephone number, your name and age. That's really important for us to be in contact with you, and if any part of that is incorrect, then obviously we won't be able to. Continuing down, just all of the information, make sure it's correct. Any edits you have to the narrative section of your grant application, feel free to do here. And when you're all set and your budget, is uploaded, then you can just hit submit. If for some reason you want to start your application and then not submit it during the same day or whenever, if you need to come back to it, if you want to start it and then come back to it a few weeks later, that's totally fine. Just feel free to click this Save Draft button as well. But other than that, that is the application. It's pretty straightforward, just asking you about your project, your inspiration, about a little bit about yourself. And we really are interested in knowing who you are and why this project is so important to you. So, but feel free to let me know should you have any questions at all. I'm always here to help you. So now we'll talk a little bit about what's going to make your application successful. First, we want to outline up a feasible project, something that is feasible with A, the number of volunteers that you have, and the support in your community that you have. B, with your budget. If you're planning to do a very large-scale project, just make sure the budget reflects all of the things that you'll need to do that large-scale project. So making sure that your project is feasible and showing us that that's true. And that could be, a project that you've done in the past that you're going to recreate on a larger scale, then that's totally fine. Just make sure to address that in your application. We want a project that shows evidence of planning. So show us that, you've really thought about this, it's really important to you, and that you've done some planning beforehand. We want to make sure that, you've planned for this, and therefore it will be a feasible project. So those two things kind of go hand in hand. We're looking for projects that incorporate youth involvement at all stages. So in the planning stages, in the execution stage, and celebration stage, all stages of this project should involve youth, including yourself. Like I said, it is required that each project applying for this specific grant program will address the issue of childhood hunger. No specific way of doing that, but it does need to address that issue. Like I said, the project should be youth-led, so the person in charge of this project and submitting this application should be a youth between the ages of 5 to 25. And we're looking for projects, like I said, that bring together young people, bring together families, bring together Sodexo employees, and other community members. We want you to engage as many people as possible in your project. So what does it mean when I say Sodexo employee engagement? That's a great question. So we're asking that you invite local Sodexo employees to help you with your project. That could mean a bunch of different things. It could mean if you're having a food drive, asking them to donate goods. It could mean, attending an event that you're hosting. It could mean, volunteering with you at a local soup kitchen, things like that. Basically, any way that you would need other volunteers to help, we're asking that you reach out to local Sodexo employees. So where do you find them? A lot of them are employed at schools, hospitals, local cafeterias, things like that. So be sure to reach out. It's definitely not a requirement of the grant. We do highly encourage it, though. So just think about that as you're planning your project and filling out your application as well. And then lastly, if you do have Sodexo employees join you at your project, make sure to take pictures. We'll ask you to take pictures no matter what, but just make sure that you're taking pictures of that as well. So now we'll go over briefly the application scoring rubric. So to the left, you'll see an example of the scoring rubric. This is what we will use to score your application. If you request it, we will be happy to share this with you. But basically, each question is awarded between 0 to approximately 10 points. And so, for example, the project summary one. So to get between 8 to 10 points, you'll need to propose a clearly stated, well-defined project that addresses the issue of childhood hunger and it benefits the community. So just make sure you're outlining all of those things. Like I said, we want the who, what, when, where, why, and how. So make sure you're planning this and thinking about it before you hit the submit button. Now we'll talk a little bit about the timeline. So the application opened on October 15th, and it closes on January 15th. So you've still got a little bit of time, but making sure that you submit your application before January 15th at 5 p.m. is really, really important. The funds will be dispersed mid-February, and by that I mean you'll get a notification letting you know whether or not you were accepted into the grant program, and we'll ask you to fill out a little bit more paperwork about where we're sending the check to, and that will happen about mid-February to late February. As I mentioned a few times, Global Youth Service Day is April 19th, or 17th through the 19th, excuse me, of 2015. So planning for that weekend ahead of time. And then, should you be accepted for the grant program, we will ask you to fill out a report after your project, and those will be due at the end of May in 2015. Sorry about that. As you're filling out your application, should you need project ideas or have any questions, these are a few of the resources that we suggest using. You can find them all at www.ysa.org/resources. But the No Kid Hungry 2 guide is really a great resource, as well as the Feeding America Food Bank locator, so you can look in certain communities to see where those food banks are located, as well as the Children's Defense Fund fact sheet. So it has a bunch of different facts about childhood hunger all across the U.S. So those are the 3 that I would suggest definitely looking at, but we do have a lot more resources on that page, on the YSA.org page. Also, if you're joining us today and you know you want to get involved, but you're not entirely sure what you want your project to be about, we have some great examples of projects in the past from this grant program. All you need to do to check those out are go to ysa.org/projects, and you can filter them by issue area. So if you select poverty and hunger, and then you select youth in the project filter, so that would be issues focused on poverty and hunger led by youth, it will filter out those projects, and you can read through them and learn a little bit more about what those projects were like, who was involved, what kind of activities they did. If you need some ideas for that, it's definitely a great place to look for some. If at any point, either today or next week or whenever you decide to fill out your application, if you have any questions at all, please feel free to let me know. Like I said, my name is Sarah Berry. I am the YSA Grant Manager. My email address is right there on the screen. And the webpage to get to the application is also at the bottom of that screen. So thank you again so much for joining us. Should you have any questions, feel free to let me know. And good luck and happy application writing.